Hello and welcome to Mike's Garage. We're having fun today. I feel like I'm almost done with this transmission. I'm not going to have to deal with it anymore. I hope you're enjoying this transmission thing, but it's really painful to work on one that's really not going to go together and be for real. So I apologize for that, but what I promised to do in this little episode is to show how to adjust the timing meaning the spacing for the shifter forks. So, remember when I pulled these out quite a while back, I said, if you just put them back together again, you'll know how they go into place, which is true. Here's the first and second gear fork with its little top hat in place. And here's the third and fourth gear fork. And we can get it set in place. Now that one, you may have to move the shifter dog over into the main drive gear. Well, that shouldn't be too rough. There we go. And there it is in place. Now that we've done that, we can put the fork shaft back in place. Don't shove it all the way over, but you want it supported on both ends. Okay, so now we have the forks in place. Now here's our, here we go here. There's first gear. Got to have that one third and fourth in neutral so that the rest of it'll turn. There it goes. So there's first gear and second gear and third gear and fourth. Okay, now we'll put it back in neutral and we'll leave it there for now. Now we'll go on to the lid. Now this is a ratchet lid, and sadly it's not all assembled, but for our purposes that's just fine. Now we're going to put it in the position it's going to be used. In other words, this is the ratchet side, which is also the drive side. So we've got it laid here properly. And here is the tool. Tool, fixture, whatever you wish to call it. And so this long slot in the shifter drum is neutral. This is neutral for the first and second gear fork. And we'll find a long straight pattern here for third and fourth in the neutral position. In other words, what we're going for is to get these forks set in the very center of their movement. Now, in order to do this really properly, everything in the transmission would be correct according to the book. In other words, the end play of the counter gear, the main drive gear would be tightened down with the sprocket in place. The whole works. Everything would be as correct as we can possibly make it. So let's assume that it is for a moment. And I want to set the tool up properly. Little thumb screw here. And this pin, which fits right into that slot. Now we're going to move the shifter drum for the third and fourth gear. And we'll put that pin right in there, he said as he dropped it. Okay, now we've got these two set good and tight. So we know that we can't change the movement or position of the components on the lid. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn this thing over and put it right in place. Now that we put it in place, and again saying everything is in perfect position, this thing is set up very well. Of course, it was probably set to this same system before we took it apart. So that stands to reason that it would be good. It's also a very good idea to put the sprocket back on the main drive gear when you do this, so that the main drive gear, there we go, so that the main drive gear is all the way pulled over so that you're getting an accurate measurement with your feeler gauge, so you can figure out how many thousandths there is in each one of these spaces so that you get these centered. Now, the way you get them centered is, let's say, okay, we did it, and there it was, set clear over to there. In other words, when this came off, and it was exactly where I had it set, it would be over to one side. So I'd say, gee, this is going to stay, so what I have to do is move this fork over here. So you do the math, and you figure out what halfway is, because you can see it's all the way over. So what you want to do is take this back off. I dropped that top hat off of there. Now I dropped the other one off. Okay, you take this back off of here. Put it in the vise. You take this lock tab off, and we can see with the camera that there's spacer washers in here. There are shims in there. And I have a whole bag of those shims. And what you do is we want to get it moved over further that way. Well, that's not too hard. We'll just take some shims out of here, and that'll move it over. Then you put it back in, check it again until you get it right. And that's really all there is to setting the forks up on these and setting what's referred to as the timing. We usually think of timing in minutes and hours. This is in thousandths of an inch. But it's how you time your forks so that everything shifts beautifully. A lot of guys will set them up so that maybe it hits a little harder, a little deeper going into second or maybe into fourth, so that they get a good positive feel when they're racing. Ideally, you want to set them up basically pretty even. But that's about all there is to it. Everything else is tighten everything else up, go according to the specs in the book. Don't forget to put your speedometer drive back in. Be kind to it. These are wonderful old transmissions. And if you're doing your own, I really hope you enjoy it. I love doing them. So after this, I think we're going to get on to the Evo motor again. So that'll be coming up soon. And until then, see you out on the road.